A way of introduction, if we haven't met, my name is Randy Remersma. I'm the president and co-founder of Span the Chasm. We're a full lifecycle sales development firm that's been in business now for almost 14 years. Today, we are going to be covering a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and that is some things that reps get wrong in the sales cycle. We have the very good fortune to coach hundreds and hundreds of reps and dozens of companies. And we hear the phrase pretty frequently when we're doing some loss analysis. And reps will say, I lost on price. And I'm going to throw out something a little bit controversial here just to start off our conversation today. You have actually never lost on price. Again, for emphasis, you have never lost a deal on price. If you are in the B2B world and you are selling a meaningful product to a meaningful buyer, price is not the reason why you have lost. There are three elements that we're going to go over today that you have to be aware that you're competing with, and you have to win all three of those. And then there are three tests that you have to win. And again, you have to win all three of those. All right, so let's start first with the first three elements that you have to win. Number one, a prospect has a choice to do nothing. Your pricing and the value that you bring to the marketplace has to be better to them than doing nothing. And a lot of reps really undermine or undervalue how much they lose to do nothing. Change, interesting concept. Why should I do that? Because I am, as a human who is often stupid, lazy, and selfish, I'm the king of it. We're often risk averse. We'll talk about risk in a couple of weeks. And the choice of doing nothing is often very appealing because there's change. We are resistant to change, and that's where stuff goes wrong. Number two that we have to take it into account. Oftentimes, our clients might have an internal option as well, especially if you're selling a process management application or an automation application or data management application, even some hardware-oriented elements. Clients have options that they can do on their own. You just got some smart people around the company. They can DIY it. I've renovated my own basement, so I'm happy to do a DIY project. So any contract or remodel that comes to my house, part of what they're competing with is not just the other remodelers, they're also competing with me because I'm not afraid to DIY it, and I can often do a pretty good job. Good enough, and good enough is often the enemy of great. So number one, do nothing. Number two that you got to compete with is DIY, do it yourself, that somebody might have the ability to do. Then the third area, which is what most people focus on, is true competition, direct head-to-head competition, the external competitor that you deal with and fight on a daily basis. Another services organization, another reseller, another manufacturer, whatever. There are competitors out there in the marketplace that are in that account trying to get your money. You've got to beat all three of those. You have to become more compelling than doing nothing, which sounds easy, but when you start factoring risk that comes with change, a lot more attractive to some folks. And then you got to beat the do-it-yourself options. What could they do on their own without engaging an external firm? And then head-to-head competition, which is where you probably focus most of your time anyway. Got to beat all three of those. Do not undermine them. Please have a strategy for each. So we've got those three things in place. We still say that we lost because of price. And price, I say, in a vacuum, never is attractive. So we have to compare it to three things. And there are three things, and these are three tests that we have to win. Number one we have to win is our pricing compared to value, the derived value that someone is going to get from your solution. And this is really, when people say, oftentimes they say I lost a price, they often mean this. And the value that someone is getting from your solution compared to the price is underwater. If value is below price, you are dead. So the price really didn't matter. It was the fact that you were not able to create value that would exceed that. Now, if your value is ridiculously high and your price is low, customers are going to have sort of an ROI model that they're going to be running. If I get 3x the value versus the total cost of ownership, or I get 5x versus that, then we can go forward with that. Almost everybody has a model. If they don't know, you may not be talking to the right people. But if your pricing is way below your value, then you might be in good shape. And that's a return on the investment. What is the derived value I'm going to get based on the investment I have to make? You must win that. You've got to have, at least within their parameters and their constructs, you got to win that part. So that's number one, win. Number two battle that you've got to win is the differentiation model. So the pricing, what you are delivering might look very similar to what someone else is delivering. So you must win on the differentiation side. And a lot of folks we work with in the business office technology space, they might be selling a sharp, multifunction copier to someone, and someone else and they're doing the same thing, and I'll often think that, hey, these things are similar. The only way I can win is on the pricing, because there's no differentiation. But there's one, in that space specifically, I'm thinking of one rep that I have the great fortune to work with. She knows her clients very well. She verticalizes and understands her use cases and brings her experience to the table, and not only can sell the same product at the same price as her competition, she can actually, because of her experience, has differentiated, can sell them for more because they're willing to pay for her expertise, even though the products look very commoditized. And then the third element that you've got to factor in that you must win, a lot of times when people are like, well, they said it costs too much, I find a lot of reps are selling to the wrong people, and they got two roles that need to be covered in a B2B model. Sometimes they're the same person, usually they're not. Even in small organizations, there's often separate people, but the smaller the company, the higher the chance that these are the same. Number one is the champion. You must have a champion who's advocating for you internally. They're the people that understand the real value that you and your solution are going to be able to bring to the marketplace. Got to have that person on your team. Talk to us if you want to about a rating system for that. The other person you got to have, number two, is the economic buyer. And that person is the one, it's really a mystery to a lot of people. They don't know who to go after for that. But you've got to win the economic buyer, and you've got to win the champion and have those two people on board with you. A lot of times, if you have not done a good job of that, you have not won their hearts and minds, and therefore they will give you the easy one of saying your price was too much. So just want to backtrack a little bit. Areas that we have to be cognizant of and win from a competitive standpoint. Number one, do nothing. Number two is what could they do internally, potentially, a DIY project. People do something similar as what you do. Remember, good enough is often good enough. Good is the enemy of great. And then you got the external competitor that you need to knock out. Got to win those. And then the test, the things that you must win is the price to value relationship. And then there's differentiation between you and your competition. There are other people, could be a DIY person who says good enough is good enough, could be another competitor in the marketplace, but there must be some differentiation that you could snag on this. And then the third one is, are you dealing with the right buyers? A lot of times people do not have a champion locked down, they do not have the economic buyer locked down, so they're hosed. Now, an easy thing, if you are confused, great news. We're one question away from knowing the answer. Asking great open-ended questions. Talk to me about how we're deriving value and comparing that to the total cost of ownership, and inviting them into that conversation. I ask so many reps, what did they say when you asked them, talk to me about how you're navigating this, talk to me about how you're comparing different, separate competitors. And they're like, why would I ask that question? It looks like I don't know what I'm doing. However, if you don't ask that question, you're going to be running on assumptions that could have been clarified and validated for you. So ask questions.